Hello, I'm Tracey.
And I'm Travis.
We're two Americans who just moved with our miniature husky, Tabasco, from our home in Texas to the city of Leiden, the Netherlands. We're not quite sure what the future holds for us, but we're excited to share our journey with you.
Today we want to take you along on a journey that we just got done with, but will be brand new for all of you. We just went to the coolest place, and we want to show you a little bit about how we got there. But first, we wanted to take a moment and thank all of the people who have helped made us possible for us to be here.
Yeah, particularly our families for supporting our crazy dream of packing up our life and jetting off to Europe in the middle of a pandemic.
Absolutely. Today we are taking a walk and a lunch at one of the beautiful parks here in Leiden. And we want to answer some of the questions that we've been getting from you all about why we decided to move here in the first place. We had a chance to come to the Netherlands a few years ago on a holiday. We went to a huge 3-country tour.
We went to the Netherlands. We stayed in Amsterdam. We went to Edinburgh, Scotland, and we finished our trip in Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a shame we did the Amsterdam part first because we fell in love with the city and the country, and we were kind of stacking up all the other countries we went to against it and couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, we got a great chance to go through Amsterdam, and we were walking along one night and we thought, wow, this place is just, it feels so inviting and safe. And we were walking around, it must have been 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the safest I've ever felt walking in the downtown Metrovan area at that time at night.
Yeah, and that's kind of what popped into our head, that we decided we really wanted to move to the Netherlands. And the next step was trying to figure out how we could make that happen.
We had actually lived in Houston. Well, you'd lived there for the past 5-6 years?
Yes, yep. I moved from a tiny town in upstate New York to the big city of Houston, Texas. And 5 years was about enough for me.
See, I'd actually grown up in Houston. It was my hometown. It's a lot bigger of a city, definitely, than upstate New York had.
Yeah.
Houston's a city of about 4 million in the actual city limits and about 8 million in the area surrounding it. So it's a pretty big city.
Huge. Not a lot of public transportation at all. You need a car basically to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
And minimum 30 minutes to do what you need to do. Like for us even to go to the grocery store.
If we wanted to go to a grocery store that was slightly nicer than, say, a Kroger,
yeah,
it was a good half hour to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when we met in Houston. You had moved there for work, and then we met online and started dating and had a really good time. And we got married. And we got married in New Orleans, which is a great place.
Amazing city.
We actually, the first time you came to Europe was when I proposed to you.
Yes, he proposed to me in Paris and flew me out to Europe, and it was my first time ever coming over here, and I loved it from the minute I set foot in Charles de Gaulle Airport.
That's not entirely true. I tried to propose on her the first day, but she was so ready for some wine and cheese. I was
very jet-lagged, and I just wanted to eat cheese and drink wine in bed, so that's what we did.
Yeah, that is exactly what we did, and we had a great time doing it. We stayed in an apartment about the size of our bedroom.
Yes, around the corner from some of the most famous cheese shops and brasseries and boulangeries. We just had a field day.
And it was kind of crazy because even though these places are world renowned or whatever the accolades they had, they would still set up little trays in front for the day and say, all right, here's for €5 you can get some cheese, and they would give you 3 or 4 different cheeses to try that they had in the shop. And I admit that's how we tried the cheese there. and it was really tasty.
But as much as we loved Paris, it is not somewhere that we saw ourselves living.
Mm-hmm. Now, you actually do speak a little bit of French because you took it in school, but I speak none. And I was definitely lost in leaning on you for things there.
Yeah. After that, I mean, our honeymoon, we went to Ireland, Scotland, and London. Mm-hmm. And again, as much as we loved all those cities, particularly Edinburgh, I love Edinburgh. Not some places we could see ourselves living, but
yeah. Maybe one day. Well, yeah. I'm not closing off the door to that yet, but it was definitely a situation where Edinburgh felt a little not quite right for permanent, but maybe. And then London is just so London. And it's one of my favorite cities in the world, but it is definitely a complex place to try and live and, not just visit.
And although we loved Amsterdam when we visited, we did not want to start off by living in such a massive city in the Netherlands. So we were kind of researching other cities around, and you started talking to people at work, and Leiden came up quite a bit.
Which actually brings us to the real actual reason of why we came to the Netherlands. I actually managed to get a job over here. I work for a company that is based all around the world and headquartered here in the Netherlands, and we had the opportunity, or I researched the opportunity quite a bit and applied for a few jobs, and I finally found one that was a good fit, and we made the jump.
Yeah, he's making it sound more simpler than it was. It was a long process. It was from the end of March of this year to...
I started on my birthday in March, and we finished the interview process in May because it was quite difficult to have an interview from Texas for a job here in the EU.
Not to mention the complications from the pandemic as well. But yeah, we decided to take a leap of faith and
have to do a whole bunch of things along the way to make it work.
Yeah. The process of getting over here was a little stressful, a little chaotic.
So we ended up leaving Texas, and
in the middle of the blazing heat of summer.
In the middle of a pandemic, no less.
Yeah.
And we decided to move 5,000 miles away to another country that we've only been to once.
Yeah, it's a very surreal feeling moving to a place that you've never really seen before.
But we looked at a ton of photos, we looked at the area, and it was all looked pretty good. So we made that leap, and now it's been quite a bit of a process for getting things over here. And we would, if you're all interested in it, we can give you some ideas of the things we did to help make that smoother. So if that is something you'd like to hear, let us know in the comments, and we can put together a video on some tips that we had for making the move across.
Yeah, and I think we should address some of the other reasons why we're here too. Obviously, the most obvious one is that Travis got a job here.
Of course.
I am super privileged to be able to work remote for the company I was previously working with. But we really are interested in raising a family here. We know the Netherlands is one of the best countries to raise children, so that's very appealing to us.
And it's crazy here because you'll see children, 6, 7, maybe 9 or so, just out in the streets doing their thing and having a good time, and they all look happy and
independent.
Very independent, which is very, very cool, and not at all what it's like in the States.
No, not at all. But yeah, children for sure. Raising a family here is super appealing to us, and we absolutely love traveling, and to travel from the United States to go to places in Europe that we desire to go to is incredibly expensive.
Well, I mean, the most expensive part of it is actually getting over here.
Not to mention a 9 to 10 hour flight.
Sure, absolutely. So that's why we've been trying to go to as many places as possible while we're here, so that we can really soak up as much as we can of a continent that we won't normally go to as often as possible. And of course, I actually ended up with a really great job that allowed me to work from home or work from home all the time right now during the pandemic. And then I get every other Friday off, which is really, really great. And there's a dog that just ran by, so Tracy's very distracted.
Yeah, so the work-life balance, for sure, was a huge part of us wanting to move here, too. In America, it's just work all the time, work as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of time for play.
And that's important for us, so we're excited to be able to have a little more time. It's actually one of the Fridays that I have off. So we're going to go to this place that I was reading about before we even came to the Netherlands, which is this cool cafe that is also kind of a farm. This is the beautiful place where we're going to have lunch today. It is the Tuin van de Smid, and I probably said that wrong, but it is a beautiful, beautiful place. And they have some sheep, or I believe it's shopping, and they have a really cool restaurant and cafe, and we're going to have lunch here. On top of being one of the coolest places that we've been to, and since we've been to the Netherlands, it was really, really delicious.
Super fresh, like local. Oh gosh, just I can't even really describe it. Super flavorful.
Yeah, and they had about the cutest animals I've seen since we left Tabasco back at the house.
We weren't sure if we were going to bring him or not. We felt like he would probably lose his mind a little bit.
Which is probably true. But thank you for coming along with us, and we hope you enjoy getting some answers to some questions that you've had for a while.
And thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It really means a lot to us. When we started this, we didn't anticipate anyone really taking an interest in what we're doing. So thank you for coming along for the journey. And as always,
have a good one.
Bye.